Hello and welcome to the Palomar Institute video lesson series. My name is Lowell and today I want to introduce you to the Palomar TOEIC 650 course. In this video, I will review the grading for the class, discuss the basics of the TOEIC test, give you a few tips for each part of the test, and I'll review the homework. To begin with, let's start with the textbook we are currently using this term. We are using the Longman Preparation Series for the TOEIC test, 6th edition, at least for this term and the next term. As for the grading for the course, attendance is worth 10% of your grade. Homework vocabulary task will be worth 40% of your grade. There's a total of 10 tasks, one for each week. Classwork, participation, and performance will be worth 50% of your grade. As for the TOEIC test, the test of English for international communication, listening and reading, test is designed to assess the abilities of adult non-native speakers of English to understand business communication. It's used to evaluate your reading and listening skills to comprehend business situations in an international environment. This test is typically taken by those who wish to verify their current level of English proficiency, to qualify for a new position and or promotion in a company, to enhance their professional credentials, to monitor their progress in English, to set learning goals, and or to involve your employer in advancing your English. The new format for the TOEIC test is slightly different from the old version. The listening comprehension section has 100 items, and unlike the older version of the test, part 1, photographs, you'll only have 6 questions to answer as opposed to 10 questions. In part 2, the question and response section, 30 questions used to be on the former test. Now you'll have only 25 questions. For part 3, short conversations, the former test had 30 questions, 10 conversations with 3 questions each. The new version of the test has 39 questions, 13 conversations with 3 questions each. In part 4 talks, it remains the same with 30 questions. You'll have 10 talks with 3 questions each. As for the reading section of the test, it has 100 items. And for part 5, incomplete sentences, the former version of the test had 40 questions, but with the new version, you will only have 30 questions. For part 6, text completion, the former version of the test had 12 questions. Now that has been increased to 16 questions. Part 7, that has been changed slightly. Basically, you'll have 29 questions instead of 28 questions for the single passages. 10 reading texts with 2 to 4 questions each. For the next part, part 7, the multiple passages, you'll have 25 questions instead of 20 questions with 5 sets of double or triple passages with 5 questions per set. For part 1 of the TOEIC, here are some test tips and descriptions of the test. In part 1 of the test, you will look at photographs, typically showing someone in an office or traveling, and listen to 4 sentences. You have to choose the one sentence that describes the photographs accurately. The other 3 sentences will not match the photo in some way. They could use the wrong word or a similar sounding word in the sentence that is not related to the picture. Before the recording begins, Look at the photo and make as many sentences in your head in English about what is happening in the photo and what you see in the picture. And as you listen, decide if each of the four sentences you hear is definitely false, maybe true, or definitely true. If you can eliminate 2 answer choices, you will have a 50% chance to get the answer right. As soon as you mark your answer, repeat these steps with the next picture. For part 2 of the TOEIC test, you will listen to someone say something, usually a question, and then listen to 3 possible replies, and then choose an appropriate reply. There are no written prompts on the question sheets, so you need to listen carefully to every word. If it's a question, pay particular attention to what type of question it is. For example, could be a why question, a which question, a where question, a when question, a who question, a whose question, a what question, a how often question, how long question, how many question, how question, does question, what time question, did question, how far question, how close question, a tag question like isn't it, aren't they, didn't they, a has or have question, doesn't question, like a negative type question, an is question or are question, what kind of question or how much question. Be careful about trick answers that repeat keywords from the question and homophones. For example, to and to, they sound the same, but they are used differently and have different meanings. Or homonyms, for example, the word book, we can use it as a verb, to book something, or we can use it as a noun, a book. Next, for part 3, you will hear conversations between 2 or more people spoken only one time. In your test booklet, you'll read 3 questions on each conversation, followed by 4 possible answers. You may also see a graphic for some tasks. Choose the best answer for each question. For the first set of questions, ignore the recorded instructions and read the questions, answer choices, and graphics before you hear the conversation. So make sure you're familiar with all the test instructions before you take the test so you can ignore the instructions while you're taking the test. Also, try to answer the questions while you're listening to the conversation. Do not wait to hear the questions. While the questions are being announced, you should be previewing the next set of questions, answer choices, and graphics. For part 4, in this part, you'll hear talks given by a single speaker that will be spoken only one time. For each talk, you will see 3 questions followed by 4 possible answer choices for each question in your test booklet. Like part 3, ignore the instructions and start reading the questions and answer choices. Try to answer the questions while listening to each talk. While the questions are being announced, use that time to start previewing the next set of questions and answer choices. Make sure to listen to specific answers to the questions. For part 5, in the reading section of the test, you'll have exactly 75 minutes to finish parts 5, 6, and 7, so watch your timing. Try to spend less than 30 seconds to answer each question to give yourself time to check answers. In part 5, you'll see a sentence with a missing word or phrase and 4 possible answer choices. Choose the best answer for each question. To do well in this part of the test, you need to accurately decide which noun, verb, adjective, adverb, or pronoun is needed to complete each sentence. Think about the meaning of the whole sentence and use context clues to choose which word or phrase best completes this sentence. For part 6, you will find 10 passages, each with 4 blanks, followed by 4 answer choices for each blank. you need to select the word, phrase, or sentence that best completes each blank. To perform well on this part of the test, it is important to understand different forms of verb tenses, modal auxiliaries, for example, can, could, may, might, must, ought to, will, would, shall, needn't, mustn't. Adjectives, for example, ed and ing, adjective forms, comparative adjective forms, and superlative adjective forms, and adverbs. Also check the number, part of speech, pronoun type, and verb tense to choose the correct word based on the context. For part 7, the most difficult part of the test for many test takers, you will find single and multiple reading passages, such as magazine and newspaper articles, advertisements, forms, letters, memos, graphs, charts, notices, emails, instant messages, and online chat discussions, followed by 2 to 5 questions with 4 answer choices each. Choose the best answer for each question. Questions are typically main idea, purpose, detail, or vocabulary related. Use skimming techniques, reading quickly to get the gist, to answer the main idea questions. And use scanning techniques, reading quickly to find specific details to answer detailed questions. For example, questions that are asking about names, numbers, dates, times, prices, etc. Some students find it easier to read the questions and answer choices first before reading the passage, so they know what to look for while skimming and scanning. I'll leave that up to you. Whichever strategy feels most comfortable to you, you can try that strategy in a practice test and decide what works for you. As for the homework in this course, please choose 20 new words or phrases that you learn from each class and the textbook, or from the common TOEIC vocabulary words list handed out in class. With each new word or phrase, write the definitions, synonyms, words with the same meaning, antonyms, words with opposite meaning, and example sentences. You can use example sentences from the dictionary to give you ideas about how to use the word or phrase, but don't copy them. Try to think of your own original sentences that will help you remember the meanings of the words. If you want to take practice tests outside the classroom, please inform your instructor. Final thoughts. Vocabulary is one of the most important aspects to focus on when studying for the TOEIC. Make sure that you are consistently learning new words and phrases. Make sure to review any of the new words and phrases that you learn. You will probably find a fair number of new vocabulary words and phrases while taking the test. In these situations, quickly identify what part of speech they are and guess about the meaning of the words or phrases from the context. Don't let unknown vocabulary words slow you down. Just guess the meaning and move on. If you're close to running out of time while doing part 7, leave the last 15 seconds to mark answer choice B for any questions left unanswered. And make sure you bring an electronic or paper dictionary to class. And finally, I'd like you to wish you good luck. Feel free to leave comments below, and thank you very much for watching and listening.